Hello and welcome. My name is Sanjay Soni. Here is Rajeev to explain Azure Cosmos DB concepts. Thank you for taking the time to join us. Now, let's get started. Hi Rajeev, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Sanjay.
So great to have you with us.
Great to be here.
And what do you do at Microsoft?
I'm an engineering manager at Microsoft. I work on the Azure Cosmos DB product team. I'm focused on various aspects of the cloud service, including performance, capacity, pricing, and customer onboarding experience.
All right, let's get started. So what does Azure Cosmos DB provide in terms of storage and throughput capacity?
Azure Cosmos DB is a cloud database service that provides unlimited storage and throughput. One can build apps that can operate with as little as a few gigs of storage and a few hundreds of requests to operating at petabytes of storage and millions of requests. The database would scale seamlessly and transparently from low usage to high usage without the application needing to do anything special. This seamless scalability is achieved via horizontal partitioning, where the workload is spread across several machines. When the application developer creates a Cosmos container, she makes two choices: the throughput to be provisioned for the container and the partition key. The only requirement for the application to take advantage of seamless scale is to choose a partition key that leads to a reasonably even distribution of both storage and throughput, that way avoiding any hotspots that limit scale.
I see. So what you're trying to say is this partition key seems to be the way to really scale the applications.
Absolutely.
So Rajeev, how does one choose the throughput to be provisioned in Azure Cosmos DB real-world applications?
That's a great question, Sanjay, and this is where Azure Cosmos DB really shines in terms of ease of use by providing deterministic capacity planning. In Azure Cosmos DB, the throughput is set in terms of a currency called request units, or RUs in short. Each database operation, such as reads, writes, queries, have an RU cost. This cost is deterministic. That is, for the same operation done, the cost will always be the same. Example, a read of a 1 KB document is 1 RU. Every read that the app does of a 1 KB document will always cost 1 RU. Similarly, writes have some RU cost, queries have some RU cost. The RU cost is essentially proportional to the amount of resources that the operation takes in terms of CPU, I/O, memory.
It's a good thing to have this consistency, right? Then you can have an estimate of how much it will actually cost.
Exactly. In fact, every request that the app does, the RU cost of the request is returned in the request response. One can examine the response to understand the cost of the operation. Capacity planning hence becomes quite straightforward. That is, if the operation, for example, a query costs 2 RUs, then if the app intends to do 1,000 queries per second, the throughput needs to be provisioned at 2 into 1,000, 2,000 RUs. Azure Cosmos DB service guarantees that the app will always be able to do 2,000 RUs worth of requests per second. The throughput provision is backed by the Azure Cosmos DB 4 nines throughput SLA with money-back guarantee. Azure Cosmos DB also provides a free online capacity calculator that can be used for capacity planning and understanding the throughput to be provisioned without needing to create a Cosmos account or to do the operations.
Awesome. So can you please show this online capacity calculator in action with a live demo?
Definitely. Here I have an application which is needing to do, say, a particular 1 KB document reads and writes. This is a sample document. It has an ID as one of the fields, and it is also the partition key and a set of data around different terms. Now I come to the Azure Cosmos DB capacity planner, and I can use it to estimate the request units and the data storage that this scenario will take into account. So I do upload document. I choose the sample document that I just showed you guys, and say I want to do 10 million documents.
Okay.
And I want to do 100 creates per second and 1,000 reads per second of this particular document, and I say calculate. Then it would go ahead and calculate and tell me the total RUs that I need for my application. So tells me here that the total RUs for create would be 724 and total RUs for reads would be 1,000. Overall, I would need around 1724 RUs per second. Overall data storage after storing 10 million documents would be around 7.13 GB.
So this is the estimation the tool came up with. Now let's see what happens next.
So now I can go to the Azure portal. I have already a collection that I have created in the Cosmos DB database, and I have a collection with the throughput provisioned at 400 RUs. We estimated that for the application I would need at least 1800 RUs. So I'll go ahead and change the scale of this. Notice I just need to change the throughput and save it, and it's already done. It is so quick. And then I come into my VM, where now I have an application that is going to try to do this workload of 1000 reads per second and 100 writes per second. I start the application, and we will observe the application is going to start up. You can see the workload has started, and
I see. So basically, you estimated first, you got some calculation, and then you configured the tool with those settings, and now you're simulating a real world scenario with those settings, with those configuration parameters.
Exactly, yes. I have written an application that can do this 100 writes per second and 1000 reads per second and visualize it. Awesome. So here you can already see this dark blue is reads, and it is already starting to do around 1000 reads per second and around 500 writes per second. It's slightly more than that because we actually did set it slightly higher than the estimate. We set it at 1800 RUs versus 1724 that is actually required. So you can see how stably this workload is running, and with no rate limiting happening. If I try to now push the workload slightly higher, then we will start seeing that we're trying to push more work than what we have provisioned for, and you can already start seeing that you start getting the rate limiting errors. This basically is telling you that the application is trying to push more than it has provisioned, so it needs to either back off and run at the rate that it has provisioned, or it needs to increase the RUs. So I'll go ahead and increase the RUs further to get more throughput to go from the application. Similarly, as you can see, I have just increased the throughput and saved it. It is just gone ahead and saved, and you can see that this rate limiting errors have stopped, and the application now can do the higher throughput without any errors.
Oh, so basically it prevents customers from getting these surprise bills. So you basically conscientious decision is the right thing to do. Yes.
So awesome. You get what you provision for. Similarly, as you can see, I easily scaled up. If I want to now understand that my application is going to have much higher needs and growth is going to happen, and I want to do, say, for instance, 500 writes per second and 5000 reads per second, I would just calculate it, and it tells me I need to provision at 8620 RUs. I can go back to the portal and provision at 8600 RUs, and in an instant I have saved it and it's already applicable. Then I can go ahead and further increase the workload and be able to do close to 500 creates per second and 5000 reads per second. You can see the application scaling up to in response.
That's fantastic.
So That way, Azure Cosmos DB allows you to actually very deterministically plan your capacity, know your throughput needs, and set the respective provision throughput and be able to get it predictably without any errors.
Awesome. So how can customers optimize for costs in Azure Cosmos DB to run the workloads more efficiently?
Another great question, Sanjay. Costs are an important consideration in any application, and Azure Cosmos DB makes it easy to build apps that operate at the lowest cost. First off, in Azure Cosmos DB, one is built for consumed storage and provision throughput, and the billing is hourly. That is, you can only pay for the storage you consume and the throughput you provision for the hour. No more purchasing lots of servers and prepaying for the capacity and running into high costs when utilization is low. Yep. In Azure Cosmos DB, you only pay for what you use. More so, you only pay for the time of the day that you use the capacity. In the active usage time, you can dial up the throughput provision to meet the needs and then dial it down to the lowest during inactive or low usage periods. This flexibility of provisioning by the hour gives a lot of cost savings. In addition, Azure Cosmos DB provides a pricing discounts at different throughput tiers via reserved capacity pricing. By signing up for reserved capacity pricing for either a 1 year or a 3-year term, the application can realize up to 65% discount in their throughput pricing.
Wow, thank you so much for this great information, and thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you, Sanjay. It was great. It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for watching this microlearning readiness video about Azure Cosmos DB. To learn more about this and other topics, please go to azure.com/cosmosdb. Please stay tuned for more videos.